Hi, kids. It's your pal, Johnny Vegas. Now, I know in the past, you've been seeing someone going around pretending to be me. You know, little puppet show, which is cute and nice for the kids. And I suppose I should be flattered that a lot of people want to impersonate the one and only Johnny Vegas. But seriously, anyone can do puppetry. Look, I'm Eli Manning, and I have DirecTV. I'm Jonathan Vegas. I have a 17-inch Panasonic with a broken knob and tinfoil on the ends, but I got a good VCR that plays the greatest hits of the Buffalo Bills 1992 season. So let's get to it. Okay, today I'm here to talk to you guys about the draft. Now, of all the things you can do in your fantasy football year, the draft is the single most important thing. You're going to be in a room or online with a bunch of your friends, colleagues, coworkers, and other assorted degenerates like myself. And you have to make decisions in a quick amount of time that are going to affect your entire season. The draft is the single most important thing you can do. So please listen to your boy. I've been a degenerate fantasy football guy for decades now, so I think I know what I'm talking about. Okay, rule number 1 is a rule that flip-flops depending on how you draft. And it's one simple thing. Pants! That's right, pants. If you are doing a draft in person, make sure you wear a good pair of pants. Don't wear shorts, don't wear sweats, no one's going to respect you. Make sure that your pants has a belt and is properly buckled. Because when you wear pants to a draft, you look like a man. This also works for the ladies too, unless there's something else you want to wear. I know nothing of women's fashion. Conversely, if you're doing an online draft, don't wear any pants. No pants, baby. Nice, cool, relaxed. It'll set the mood. Okay, next thing you want to do is make sure that you got a good cheat sheet. What is a cheat sheet, you ask? Well, it's the thing that in school the teachers try to take away from you, but here in the real world, you need them. So here's what it's all about. A cheat sheet is a listing of players in the order in which you think they're going to produce this year. This is something you can make yourself, you can pull out of a magazine, or you can pay a service for online. I'm not going to tell you which way to do it, but do your homework, shop around, and pay attention to what you're doing. Cheat sheet's only the first part. It's not as simple as, okay, here's a list of paper, follow the list of paper, yada, 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 you're going to be a champion. Doesn't work that way, kids. What you got to do is pay attention to your sheet. Now, I have one here in the table, and I'm not showing it to you because I'm not giving away my trade secrets. But what you want to do with this cheat sheet is make sure that you see the groupings, or what are sometimes known as tiers. If you pay attention to tiers now, there won't be tiers later. And this sound means that the mock draft is about to begin. Wait for it. And there we go. What a mock draft is, I'm going to try to turn the camera just a little bit so you can see a little bit more screen. A little bit more. There we go. What a mock draft is a practice draft. Hey, get back here.
Your team is now on the clock.
Where you and other players get to see how things go throughout the season. Now, I'm picking 5th out of 12th in a draft. We're going to get to that in a minute. But what a mock draft is, it's a chance for you to practice, put your sheet into motion, and also get a gauge on how other players pick along the way. Is this something that is necessarily going to mirror what's going to happen in your league with your group of strange friends? Nah. But practice makes perfect, and it makes you smarter. So I'm number 5th overall, and a running back I'm very high on is on the list, and that is one Mr. Marshawn Lynch. So I'm going to make him my first pick. The first pick is very important. You want that pick to say power, you want that pick to say position, you want that pick to say, hey, I'm coming after all of you this year. And Marshawn Lynch is a pick that I think says it best. That's me. But I'm picking 5th out of 12th. And the way that works is, You pick 1 through 12. And if you have a serpentine draft, you pick 1 through 12, 12 through 1, 1 through 12, and back and forth until you're done. Pretty simple. But there's one thing you got to remember. There are two people you got to look out for in the draft more than anybody else. The person picking in front of you and the person picking behind you. The person picking in front of you is always, and I mean always, going to pick somebody that you have your eyes on. You're looking at your draft sheet, your cheat sheet, and you're thinking, oh, this is it. I'm going to get this player. I'm going to get this player. You took my player. I hate you. So, be ready for that little hot break to happen. But the guy after you, now this is where you have the most fun. Because the guy after you, you can pick quickly. If you know what you're doing, you're going to develop some speed. Some people like to pause on their picks to build the drama. Some people like me are busy talking to a camera trying to explain to all of his fans how you can properly do it. But I like to pick quickly, so that way the person after you is like, "Buh?" So, you have that. So, it's almost coming up to me now. And I want to talk about who you should draft and when. Usually I go
Your team is now on the clock.
Oh, for crap's sake, I thought I had more time. Okay, let's see who's available. And who's on my sheet. Doo-doo-doo. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-doo. Shadooby. Hey! Wide receiver I really like is still available. Gentleman by the name of Odell Beckham. So, I'm taking Odell Beckham. So for those playing along at home, I have Marshawn Lynch, I have Odell Beckham. Now, usually I go for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers early. Because that's a position where there is quality at the top, but not always a great amount, so you got to pay attention. Tight ends and defenses, I kind of leave towards the middle with rare exceptions, because usually that's when you can get them. Kickers are ballast. Kickers are ballast. Kickers
Your team
are
is now on the clock.
ballast. Interrupt me, you son of a sorry. Let's see here. Okay, who else we got here? Shibadoo. Let's see here. I'm looking at who's available now. You see, it's hard to do a show and do it at the same time. This is the example of taking the time that I was telling you about. So, I'm looking at who's still left and who's available, and I see a quarterback that's towards the top of my list is still available, and that is one Mr. Peyton Manning. Mr. Football. So, boom, Peyton Manning's on my team. Now, there were a couple other players I was looking at. They were both running backs, but they went back to back on this draft, which is accelerated, so I can do the show. But this is something you got to pay attention to while you're going through this. Is sometimes people make what are called runs on certain positions. One person, like let's say at the start of the draft, when this typically happens, you'll see. It starts with people saying, I want a running back. And then the next player says, I want a running back. I want a running back. I want a running back. You know what I'm saying. Where it gets tricky is after that, someone will say, but I'm taking the best wide receiver now. And then the players after them will think, maybe I should get a wide receiver. And people do runs on certain positions. So you want to pay attention to that for two reasons. One is you want to make sure that you don't lose someone you value at that position. But another reason is, if you see people making a run at one position, they're ignoring the other. You see where I'm going with this? When they're going to the other position, that's when you strike. And you get that position. And maybe you start a run, so people will go another way. It's all mind games. It's great. It's the best thing ever. But getting back to my point I was making before I went and drafted Mr. Manning, I was saying kickers are ballast. And that's truly the truth. For me, a kicker is nothing but ballast. I myself don't ever pick a kicker until it's my very last pick. And I'll tell you why. Because if you need a kicker to win, either your opponent is very good or you're very weak. Don't be the weak. Be the wolf that gets the sheep. And make sure you win your draft. Let's see here. Other fun things I can tell you about drafting. Yeah, that looks sexy on camera, I know. One thing to look forward to at the live draft is there will be libations at most of the live drafts. And maybe there's libations in your home if you're doing the online draft. Don't get drunk. Have a couple, use alcohol for what it's meant for, a social lubricant. Don't take too much of it because then it becomes a truth serum. And while you could be drafting a great team, you're sobbing on the shoulder of the person next to you, telling you how a girl broke your heart in the 5th grade. Patricia. I miss my Patricia. Ah. You don't want to be that guy. Conversely, you don't want to be me in a draft. Not saying you don't want to be the most awesome fantasy football player of all time. That goes without saying. But you don't want to chat too much. Keep it simple and low. Let people wonder what you're thinking. Don't tell them. And be careful who you take advice to, especially if you're a newbie. Because if you come up to me as a newbie and saying, hey, this is my first draft, any advice? I'm going to tell you that both Peyton Manning and Eli Manning have retired to join a cookie league. I'll tell you to get a kicker first. Be wise. But also have fun. Okay, I'm coming up, so I got to find somebody here. Hang on a second. Let's see here. Okay, I've got my quarterback, my running back, and my wide receiver already. I'm probably going to go wide receiver or running back, but I'm not sure yet. It depends on what the person in front of me picks. Because there's a couple of guys here I'm really liking that no one has taken yet, and I'm really surprised that no one has taken them yet. They might know more than me, which is doubtful. They might, but they don't. So, let's see what we got here. It takes time, This is not a smooth, fluid show. I know you wish it would be, but it's not. So, what are you going to do? Okay, let's see here. And it's going to be coming to me shortly. The one guy's about to robo out. Robo out means that you drop out, you don't make your pick on time, and when that happens, the computer makes your picks for you. And don't be that guy. Don't robo out. Don't spend your time talking to a camera when you could be, taking care of business. So, let's see here. Who's here that I like? Let's see here. I'm thinking I'm going to go wide receiver. And I think I'm going to go with Deshaun Jackson. Because even though I don't like Washington, I like him a lot. I think he's a tremendous player on a team that I don't particularly care for. So, I'm going to go ahead and get me some Deshaun Jackson. Now, one thing I took a moment to pause there. It wasn't so much whether or not I wanted him. I did. But I'm also looking at Odell Beckham, and I'm seeing what his bye week capacity was. You want to make sure that you pay attention to the bye weeks of the players you draft across the board, because you might get the greatest set of wide receivers to ever assemble in NFL fantasy history. But if they all have a bye week on week 8, you're kind of in trouble. So kind of pay attention to that. I'm not saying you can't pick a player that's not on the bye week. I'm just saying pay attention because depending on your league, you can only start in a certain number of them. And you want to make sure you can fill your quota. Because again, later this season, there's going to be trades, there's going to be injuries, there's going to be air drops. You can deal with it then. But if you draft smart now, it's not going to bother you. It's really not. So you want to pay attention to things like that. Next pick, I'm probably going to go with that same formula, running back, wide receiver, just because I'm not seeing tight ends that I like coming up on the board. One thing to pay attention to is even though you have someone ranked highly on your board, you might have somebody in a position ahead of another position. Again, pay attention to where people are making runs because the quality pools can run out if you're not paying attention. You might think, oh, well, I'm going to pick, say, a tight end that I have high on my list, like up here, but my running backs are down here, so I'm going to ignore them. Can't do that because the running backs down here are going to be swallowed up. But the tight end up here, No one's touching the tight ends yet. So you can wait. It's a calculated gamble, but you got to pay attention to what other people are doing. Pay attention to others and pay attention to yourself. Let's see here. Other advice I can give you guys that would really help you out. Hydrate. Hydration is very important. Everclear. White lightning. So I'm going to go for my 5th pick, and then from there, you guys can kind of figure out how you do this yourselves. I can't keep you here through every pick I make, because if I keep you through every pick I make, it's going to get boring. But I've basically given you the basics on how to be successful. So take this advice, run with it.
Your team is now on the clock.
Oh, one more pick, why not? Okay. Let's see here. Who do I have here? Who's on my hit parade? Who is on my hit parade? Let's see here. Looking up and down. And still looking up and down. This is not as easy as it looks. Here we go. I'm going to get a running back that I like because he's such a sneaky little guy. LeGarrette Blount. Granted, he's going to be facing some suspension time, so I'll work around that in the later rounds. But here we go. Your basic draft strategy. First pick, make sure it's a winner. Top 3 picks, usually keep them within the quarterback, running back, wide receiver family, unless it's Ryan Gronkowski. I'll let you slide on that. Tight ends and defenses kind of keep towards the middle of your pick. Pay attention to your bye weeks. Make sure you get a quality depth roster. And kickers are ballast. If I catch any of you picking a kicker with an early pick, I laugh at you. I mock you. I go, you are mocked. So that's the advice I can give you. And until then, I'll be in touch later on in the season. Accept no substitutes, except only genuine Johnny Vegas.